Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Destiny Expanse podcast, the podcast about all things Destiny. I'm your host, Quasi. Joining with me today is Charger. What's up, dude?
Good evening. I don't even know what to say. We haven't been on in such a long time, and it seems like time right now is at a premium.
I know it, man. We went from like a bi-weekly podcast to a tri-weekly podcast to maybe once a month podcast.
That's partially mine, and everyone's doing fine on my half with what I've already tell you. But there's been a little bit of health issues within the Charger clan, and everyone's doing fine right now. So that's a big part. But then obviously we took a little bit of a hiatus to get involved with Destiny 2. So
we did, and boy, I feel like my life has pretty much been put on hold, much to my family's chagrin.
Oh,
yeah.
I could say something, but I won't. I'm gonna be kind and be nice and thank the guy above for what we have so far.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad to hear that your family's doing all right, man.
Yeah, we're not out of it yet, but we got our head above water and we're moving in the right direction. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's good news, dude. Well, speaking of good news, Destiny 2 came out, and we got to play it quite a bit. Some of us a little bit more than others. I'll go ahead and let you share your experiences first, since you got the least amount of time with about 100 hours in.
Least amount of time. Okay. For all you listeners out there, this is a very much unscheduled one. This is going to be basically Destiny 2 opinions and free talk. So, Destiny 2, do we like it? Do we not like it? What's going on with it?
The question on everyone's mind.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I think what we're just going to do is we're going to start with a little bit of overview here. So we'll talk a little about loadouts and weapons and armor. And then I think we're going to break it down a little bit. We'll go into the PvE, the PvP aspect, end game, and then we'll wrap it up with final thoughts. So I think I'm going to start it out with the loadouts and the weapons. Okay. Destiny 2, compared to the beta, I'm happier with what I'm seeing so far. And I don't know if that's just because I have a larger arsenal to choose from between the weapons, or I'm seeing exactly how the weapons work with the mods. The mods seem to be a make or break type deal. If you're not already aware, there are mods that you can put on each one of the weapons. Some of them are blue that do minor effects. Some of them are purple, which actually increases the gun's overall value by 5. You could have a damage mod. You could have a counterbalance mod. It's similar to what I referred to, I think, back in episode 7. So it turned out somewhat the way I would like.
But not quite.
Not quite. But if you know Bungie and the way it is, they always come out with something later on or after the fact, after the initial roll on to see kind of which way it's going to go. So I think this is just the initial offering on that aspect. And as it develops, you're going to see more. We know we got DLC coming in the future. Could it be more mods? Could it be less mods? How do they play in?
Oh, I think eventually we're going to see exotic mods as a thing for sure.
Carry over, or two mods. Bungie, you listening? Two mods. Can we get back to the way we used to be in Destiny 1? You know, a little bit of a god roll there. This guy's double modding it. Just an idea, thought, heavy suggestion.
Speaking of
but that aspect of light, having a double primary is what I'm basically calling it, even though it's now kinetic and power weapon, followed by or energy, then power weapon. I'm still not quite smitten on that one, if that's the term I want to use today.
I don't think being smitten on that is a possibility, because what that's done, and we see that specifically with PvP right now, with trials specifically, we're seeing with that specific loadout where you have double primaries and then shotgun, rocket launcher, grenade launcher, sniper rifle, fusion rifle in that heavy slot. You're seeing the scout rifle becomes your traditional primary, and then you have basically the auto rifle, sidearm, what have you, in the secondary slot, because maybe a submachine gun, maybe you're running the Mida mini tool, which I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. The loadouts, I want to talk about the loadouts, but I want to talk about the story, just the initial beginning of the campaign, and then how that progresses into the loadouts, because some of these loadouts, some of the guns that you get for this setup and the armor, not even the armor, but just the guns that you get from doing the quests once you hit level 20 and move on, some of those guns are really pertinent to what kind of loadout people are typically running now. And it seems like the Mida multi-tool really is, surprise, it's back. The Mida is back. It seems like the Mida is kind of dominating the landscape. I mean, everybody's using it in the wild in PvE, and everybody's using it in PvE. So
you think about some of the perks that are on it, and it's the name for the gun couldn't be any better. The multi-tool. What other gun is going to give you the radar when you're zoomed in, since you don't have an artifact that's supplying that characteristic for you anymore, as it did in Destiny 1? And hairfire trigger, just overall, it's a very well balanced weapon. It can reach out and hit you at distance. It's got good hip fire capabilities for the up close encounter. If you get to that point, it would be that way. But I mean, pretty much, if you look at it, you have how many different guns you'd say are probably rocking the primary. You got the Mida, the Nameless Midnight, the Vigilance Wing, the Origin Story.
Is
and the Better Devils
everywhere.
I would have to say, without even seeing anything, I almost guarantee you those are your top 5 that
hands down
people are rocking. Skatelock, it was huge in the beta.
Yeah, but that was like the only one that they really dropped. Yeah,
and I still have one that's ranked up, but I don't find it as effective as it was in the beta.
Oh no, Origin Story is so good. That's something I definitely like over the beta. There's a couple of things I liked in the beta more. One of those is that I felt like headshots, the hitbox was bigger, and I felt like it was easier to actually hit those headshots in both PvE and PvP. So I feel like the hitbox has gotten smaller, and the hit detection is not great in PvP specifically. I do not like it. We'll get into PvP later, but outside of that, some of the exotics that we actually got to try out and play with in the beta were not great. The Sunshot being one of those, and the Risk Runner was all right. Dude, the Sunshot is amazeballs in Destiny 2. That is a fantastic PvE weapon, man.
Both of those weapons put in their genre, and the Risk Runner in this week's Nightfall.
You gotta have it.
Phenomenal.
You almost have to have it.
Phenomenal. I actually got it done without it, but phenomenal.
Yeah, I definitely dig it. It will. Speaking of this week's Nightfall, we'll definitely be getting into that a little bit later. Let's talk a little bit about this story. Now, you were talking to me earlier tonight about how you like the music, and that's one of the things that I think that Bungie has just nailed with Destiny 2. I think the music, the score of this game is fantastic.
It is
fantastic.
It is. I can't directly relate 100% because, like I said, I've not had a lot of time to get into Destiny 2 the way I have in Destiny 1. So I can't necessarily take the score and match it up to where I hear it or where I play it in game the same way I could with all of the scores in Destiny 1. But with this, I've listened to that score a lot. It's pretty much been playing. That's the only thing it was been playing on in the car with iTunes and traveling and everything else like that. And my hat's off to the composers. You were speaking the intro part of the campaign and how they make you feel, you're down, you're out, you've been drained of your light and everything else like that.
Yeah. Once you get kicked off the ship,
the deck of the
ship in fall, like that whole, the music kicks in when you stand up and you start walking you do your slow walk to your ghost. That was awesome.
Yeah, they've done a fantastic job of enveloping you and your guardian to the environment. and the moves and everything that you go through on that. It's like I said, if you haven't listened to the soundtrack, or you've thought about buying it, whether you buy it through the Bungie store, you get the emblem that goes with it, or it's available via iTunes and probably some other avenues out there. It's well worth the $10.
Yeah, I agree.
Well worth the $10. Yeah, and you get the emblem if you buy it through the Bungie store. That's where I bought it. And they give you 7 downloads of various types where you're able to access that content and download up to 7 devices, so on and so forth. There's my famous line.
So on and so forth. Now, I think the music in this game is great. The story itself is decent, and it actually has more of a story this go around, I think, than the original campaign did in Vanilla Destiny. Now, one of the things, they have a million cutscenes. What I think on YouTube you can watch it's like 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yep,
cutscenes. That's incredible. I think this campaign overall at 6 to 8 hours long total. There's
approximately.
I think there's some things that I like about it, some things that I don't like about it. What I like is that there is a story. It's coherent. You can follow it. It does have the cutscenes. It makes it, along with the music, it makes it more memorable. What I dislike about it is you have to beat it. You have to beat the campaign with every single character to get to the end game stuff. So every character that you make, and I've made 4. So I've literally played the campaign 4 times. The first time it's fine. The second time is like, oh, this is kind of grindy. Third time is like, oh my god, this is tedious. And the fourth time is like, why did I do this? I mean, what am I doing to myself? This is a mistake. So yeah, it gets a little, for having multiple characters, it's a little frustrating to play through over and over and over again when you're asking people to make 3 characters. I did not like that. I also think Kebane, aka Gaul, aka terrible boss. The boss battle's not great. His motivations at the end, the best part of the campaign, in my opinion, outside of the music, really is a moment with the speaker, where the speaker basically, tells Gaul, just go kill yourself, and that was unexpected and kind of crazy.
Yeah,
but
at the same time, I think it kind of peers into what the speaker understands or knows about the Traveler and what the Cabal does not know. I think it also leaves some openings in the backstory to chase it off in a few other different directions, as far as what is the Traveler, where is the Traveler going, now that it's come back to life, and in that aspect, what is the next aspect? Getting back to campaign, I thought the campaign was really good up until the final boss fight. And the final boss fight, I was preparing for more. I understand how it was capitalized, but I was expecting more. And I apologize if you haven't finished the campaign, but I'm going to give a little bit of reference here. You finish the campaign, and then you get into what we're basically considering the end game content. And the difference between the final boss of the campaign and a boss that you would see in one of the strikes, Exodus Clash, for example, who's the boss there? Is it called? They're polar opposites. I was expecting more of a boss fight, more of an evolution with Gaul as he attained the light. And I think 2 or 3 turns is the most I saw out of it, and it was over.
Yeah, it was pretty lackluster.
It was anticlimactic.
Very.
The cutscene after that was impressive.
Yeah, and I thought we were going to go somewhere else and have something more like, oh, that's going to be in the raid, like, oh, and no,
it didn't lead to that. But the thing that gives me a lot of hope and going forward is if you sit through all the end credits for all the people and all the time that everyone put into this game, from art direction to video to security to legal, to the designers, the creators, everything else like that, that end cut scene is what really like, oh, looky there. You know,
Yeah.
that's what's given me hope to say, okay, there's, you know, we saw those ships in before Destiny 1 even launched, and I was always wondering when it was going to actually show up, and it never did. Okay, so I've got a few theories, but that's going to take longer than what I want to go into, and we're not going to necessarily cover that on this round, but we will be covering that at another episode. We'll just say that much. But that was good. That was really good.
Yeah. So there's some things that I keep saying things that I like, things that I didn't like, things that I like, things that I hate. Some of the things that just kind of bug me. So one of the things that I really like is that I feel like this iteration of Destiny 2, that like this what am I trying to say here? They gave us this game, the launch game of Destiny 2. In my personal opinion, I actually like it more than I did with the launch of Vanilla Destiny. It feels familiar in a way, but at the same time, you can't tell me that this couldn't have been just added to Destiny. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have added the European Dead Zone as a new playable space on Earth. You could have kept the Moon. You could have kept Mars. You could have kept Venus. You could have added all these other, Titan and Io and Nessus, and you would have had a bigger game. I mean, in a way, this does feel like Destiny 1.5 instead of Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you would have kept a lot of the things that we actually like, that appeal to us as Destiny 1 players, that I think are definitely lacking in Destiny 2. One of those being the in game, and in the in game, there's not that much there. We have lack of tier 12 armor. We have the lack of gun rolls to chase, the no grimoire score to go after, which used to be kind of like a bragging thing. Like it used to be kind of fun to go look for those ghosts. Even if you're watching it on YouTube, it was still kind of fun to go try and track those down. And I didn't mind doing that because it was like, hey, I don't really have anything else to do. I'm going to go do this for a little bit. And I would spend, an hour or 2 hours going and tracking down these ghosts, or trying to break the game by jumping outside of the game to get into the whatever it was strike for the PlayStation on the Xbox, so I could go get that that ghost shell. And it was fun. It was challenging, but it was fun at the same time. And that's not here. That's gone. And what replaces it are strikes, public events, lost sectors, these treasure maps, and adventures. And when we talked about these lost sectors, that's one of the things that I was looking forward to the most. I was really excited about lost sectors because, to me, the way that they were being pitched, it's like a small dungeon. You go in there, it's going to have raid-like mechanics where you have to do maybe a jumping puzzle, maybe you have to go pick up a relic or something and go fight this boss, but it's still doable as an individual, like a single player could do it. So in a way, it was like a mini Tomb Raider tomb. That sounded awesome to me. That is not anything what a lost sector is. A lost sector, you go down a hole, jump around for a little bit, turn a corner, there's a bunch of enemies, you shoot them, then there's a big yellow bar with a bunch of hit points. You kill it, there's a chest that unlocks when you kill him because you got the code to unlock it. What? I mean, that's it?
Yeah.
That to me was ultra disappointing. I was super disappointed with that. The treasure maps, there's nothing special about treasure maps other than, hey, there's some spots on the map that show up that say there's a chest here, go find it, and then you got to go jump around and try to find it. I mean, it's something to do, but it's not going to last more than 30 minutes at the most, if even 15.
Correct.
So that's disappointing because lost sectors are not in-game stuff. You can do those throughout as they stay at whatever your level is. So whether you're light level or you're 15, haven't hit 20 yet, or if you're 2 or if you're 20 and your light level's at 303 or 298 or 265, whenever you go into a lost sector, that's what it's going to be at.
Yep.
They're tailored to be your light level, which that's fine. There's just no nuance. It's every single one's the same. It's just there's some enemies, then it's a yellow bar, and that's pretty much how the strikes are too. There's really outside of that one strike, gosh darn it, I can't think. It has the Vex. That was whoever designed
impressive. That was impressive.
Yeah, that was a very well designed strike. That was amazing. Other than the boss, everything getting to that, it had the jumping puzzles. It had just all kinds of craziness in it.
Almost like a little mini vault of glass in a sense.
It was
without
awesome.
The bosses in between.
It was awesome. But let's talk about those bosses for a minute. What's the deal? I mean, well, you have the Bond brothers. You have, I mean, and I know they're two big cabal, but they do different things, and there's two of them.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Then you have the Dark Blade, and that's interesting. A guy that goes invisible and goes away for a little bit, but then he comes back, and it made it challenging because you're in the dark, and that was interesting. And it feels like specifically with Exodus Crash, God, talk about the world's most annoying boss, and then that's the Nightfall this week. That's easily one of the worst design strikes, if not the worst strike that they've ever made.
It's so long. It's so long. I think what it is.
It takes forever to get through. They throw in a random Devil Walker tank just in the middle of it that you have to destroy, and then you have to go through this dark room, and then there's a boss that you shoot twice. He runs away for 5 minutes, and then you get swamped by ads, and then he comes back and you hit him twice and he runs away for another 5 minutes. It's just the most tedious thing, and I think that's kind of what this game boils down to. It's tedious. Once you get to the end game, that's what else. Once you do all of the activities, because you unlock all those activities for powerful gear, right? You have the call to arms for the PvP side, and then you have the Nightfall, and you have well, talk about the flashpoints too. The flashpoints are supposed to be like this big, massive event. Didn't they pump that up as like this big, massive event, public event that's going to happen once a week, and it's going to show up? It's going to be on this planet, and you need to get there, and it's going to be insane, you know, and all these people. It's going to take tons of Guardians to do it, and then you're going to get great gear out of it.
No,
that's not what happened at all.
Do 5 public events, you're done.
You're done. Yeah, and now they've changed it. They've added some high value targets to come and attack you while you're doing it to make it more challenging.
But you have a yellow bar, and you have another high value target that normally will come into the mix, is what I'm seeing.
And now you go do that, and you do 3 of them now, and you've unlocked the gear for the flashpoint or whatever it is that you're going to get. You've unlocked your reward. It's not one big giant public event where all these Guardians show up at the same time, same bad channel, and take on some epic thing. It's just
but listen, that doesn't necessarily mean we want that either. I don't want to have 2 of the bosses of Exodus class jumping in an EDZ room where I got to chase them around for 50 minutes either.
No, I don't want that either. But what I would like, no, I'm not saying that. I just think.
Sorry, we got to censor our own podcast there.
Right. When you have Blizzard helping you with things like this, and you're partnered up with them to an extent, I would like to see something a little more creative, a little more interesting, especially when you pump that up. You prop it up as this big gaudy event. I want to see, when you talk about like World of Warcraft, I've never played it, but I've heard, and to me, what I've heard, it sounds interesting. Where players go do a raid or they go do an event, and it'll be like some just massive boss that shows up on a map, and it will literally take like 60 people to try to take this thing down. They all have to work together and do all this craziness. And I'm not saying I want on a public event that takes 60 Guardians to fight this thing, but what I would like is for some kind of event for this flashpoint. The way that I took it when they announced it and described it, is that there's going to be this thing that's going to show up. It's going to show up on this planet. You don't know where, and it'll be highlighted. You can highlight the direction. You have to find it. But when you get there, it's going to be this big thing. It's going to take a lot of people, and you all have to work together because this is a social game. This is a social experiment. That's what I was looking forward to. and that's not what happened at all. So that's disappointing to me. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna back it up just on a little bit and just get back into where you start out at. At the lost sectors. I thought everyone's opinion's a little different here, so don't get me wrong on this. When you say the word lost sector, okay, to me that is something that is unknown, hasn't been found in a while. Maybe it's something that the environment changes and it uncovers a cave or something else, a tree gets uprooted and you find something else down low. When I found out that the lost sectors are all laid out on the map, how the heck is it a lost sector? that was the disappointment for me. Not so much going in and doing what you had to do. I was expecting more similar as you, but
do you remember when they talked about how the maps were going to be dark and they only open up as you explore?
Yeah.
And that didn't happen.
No, it's like here it is.
So many of those people, the media heads that got to get hands-on with Destiny 2 before launch, that were dropping stuff like 2 weeks before it launched, and they're like, this is what happened. The map is dark. You got to go around. It's like Far Cry, where you can't see anything on your map until you go explore that area, and then it opens up, and then you go and start unlocking these places where you can fast travel to. And I was like, wow, that sounds awesome, because that is like Far Cry, and I love Far Cry. That didn't happen at all. That didn't happen in the slightest. I was so disappointed.
Like I was expecting more of a challenge type aspect, not something that is blatantly on the map to say, oh, well, there's 4 locked sectors in this area. There's 2 over here.
Yeah.
And that aspect. Now, I know they throw it out there with the challenges trying to necessarily push you into those lost sectors, or at least experience that, but I was expecting more out of it. Strikes seem extraordinarily elongated and drawn out. There are some, like we were talking about with the one on IO with the Vex, that strike is beautiful.
It's very cool.
It's laid out, and even though it is long, it keeps you entertainment. It keeps the intention, your attention span. While something like Exodus Crash, just get me through this thing. I promise I will not go into this again. That's a take on strikes, and I know they were sitting back saying, well, everyone's just doing public events. When you have people that are striving to reach 300, 305 light, what are you going to do? Are you going to do a public event that literally will take you 4 to 5 minutes to do, and the possibility of getting a legendary Ingram or an exotic? Or are you going to do a 20 to 25 minute strike
or longer
that you're kind of going to hate yourself after you do it?
And it's not worth it. You know what? I have done so many strikes. I've done so many strikes, and I have yet to see an exotic drop. I have not gotten an exotic a single time. I haven't gotten an exotic out of PvP, and I haven't gotten an exotic out of strikes. What I do get exotics out of on a regular is the public events, and that's why I farm them. I mean, that's the only way to level up once you've done all your weekly stuff, and that gets old after a while. I mean, it's like, what else is there to do?
I think I've had 1 drop in a strike, but I have gotten quite a few out of the Crucible on the PvP. So, and the public events is obviously where the wealth of it is at. But getting back to, like you said earlier, with the quests are something I thought that were very well laid out, that lead back to an exotic. Well, some of them lead to a legendary, Mida mini tool, and eventually the Mida multi-tool. I like the way that's rolled out.
I did too.
It's not overbearing. It gives you a purpose. It gives you a purpose to explore. It gives you a purpose to explore lost sectors or go hunt down a VIP to take out different bosses on Nessus for the Mida mini tool and the multi-tool. And I think it was paced out correctly. And I think they need to kind of drive some more aspect towards that, because that to me was good. And the reward at the end that you got and the level that it dropped at, I thought was excellent.
Yeah, I agree with
that. Now that I know where it's at, though, I am pushing those quests literally off, because when I get those weapons, I don't want to have to worry about infusing them to a higher regard or a higher standard. So once I get into that area, like I got a 301 or 302 hunter now I'll go back and hit those quests and get that weapon at the higher end. And then once I have it there, then, you know, the weapons you can infuse back and forth, but the armors is not there yet like it was in Destiny 1. But, you know, overall, I'm happy with the quest.
Yeah.
The adventures and the treasure maps, I've only done 2 treasure maps, and yeah, it was the same thing. It's like, okay, you got to go over here, and there's a secret, and yep, you found Cade's stash with the Ace of Spades emblem on it. Something to do once or twice, to say you did it. Beyond that, I don't know. There might be something if you complete all of them in the week. I haven't gone that far. So maybe one of these weeks, that's what I'll do. I'll pick up all the treasure maps and knock them all out and see if anything pops up at the end that I'm currently not aware of. On the adventure standards, I really haven't done a lot because we are mostly chasing, like I said, that to get to a higher level where what items are going to
trying to get raid ready for that transformer to blow.
Exactly. So that's where I'm at on the PvE side of the aspect.
So we had this race to get raid ready that first week, and I grinded and grinded and grinded, and as of right now, I think I've put a little over 150 hours into the game. I've made 4 different characters, and I have 3 characters now that are over 303, and I mean that was just nonstop, incessant grinding and grinding. So raid week happens. we finally form a team. We go into this raid. Halfway through the raid, we don't not even have halfway. We were at what, the gardens?
We were at the dogs.
We're at the pleasure gardens, and Charger gets kicked, and we're like, oh, okay, well, you know, so we're gonna wait. 15 minutes later, we're still waiting. Like, Charger, what's up, man? Where you at? And Charger's like, I'm not sure what's happening. I think we had a power surge. I think my router got fried. Epic.
And it wasn't even that. It is explicitive. We'll just say this. If there was one time in the world for your internet to die from an unfortunate series of events that would happen near a highway, that was probably the wrongest time in the world for it to happen to me. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It did.
RNGesus struck again.
Yeah,
the wrong way.
Strike me dead. I lost internet service about 4 o'clock. What was it? About 3:30, 3:45.
Yeah.
And boom, dead. Completely dead. Call my internet provider. What the heck is going on? They explained to me, well, we're looking at this. We know there's an outage, so on and so forth. I get on tech support, and there's like 500-600 complaints online that this whole area is basically down as this point in time. And it's like, you got to be effing kidding me. Not a high time in my day. You know, I couldn't fricking believe it. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, incredibly. As the exotic emote Salty is positioned. Yeah.
You were flinging that stuff, man. You look like a salt truck in the winter.
God.
Rain everywhere.
Yeah, we were doing really well.
We were doing well. We did we got through bathhouse?
Got through the open, got through the bathhouse.
Yeah,
it was basically about a third of the way through the pleasure garden / dogs. And yeah.
And then our leader bit the dust due to a semi.
There's one thing that you cannot do no matter what if you don't have a Destiny. And that's it. If you don't have an internet support line, you're done. And yeah, I was done.
Bust out that mobile hotspot, man.
Oh, I was so tempted. Once I figured it out, it was an hour later. And, you know, like you said, you guys picked up another member of the clan. So at that point in time, I was spitting acid and bullets and on the phone with everybody underneath the sun, but it wasn't happening.
Oh boy, we were spitting acid and bullets on that final boss, man. Emperor Callus is no joke. So the game itself, PvE side, we're just talking the campaign, post campaign. We'll talk a little bit more about the end game here in a minute, but just the campaign and the strikes. The strikes, I'm not. Some of them are okay. Some of them, eh. The lost sectors, I'm really on. Public events, I actually some of them are pretty cool. I hate the Taken one. That it's really stupid. But the fact that they have a heroic, ability, I really like
Modifier.
that you can activate the heroic public event and have a chance at better loot. I think that's really cool. I really like on Titan when they have the witch one where it's kind of like the totems in Oryx. I think that was pretty cool.
Yep.
And of course the Devil Walkers, and then finally when we figured out how to do the the Cabal rig or whatever with the fire shield
Drop ship. Yep.
Yeah, the injection rig. Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of cool now too. I don't mind that one so much. I used to hate that one, and it's fun seeing the progression where you used to feel like, oh my god, this struggle, it's so hard to get these heroic. Once it starts heroic, I can't even finish it. If I'm here with just two other people, it's a struggle. But now that we're higher light level, it's really cool to see that we're doing more damage. We're able to take on some of these we can actually do by ourselves now.
Yes.
I've been able to complete a couple of the fallen walkers by myself on heroic, and I think that's pretty cool. That freaking servitor, man, I cannot beat that on heroic by myself. I get him down so far, and it's like, son of a gun.
Hey, you gotta have a little bit of a luck of the draw now. And I'm fortunate if I can say that I have done that on Nessus.
I get teleported.
Well, you get teleported. Then there's a few times where he puts you literally 2,000 feet up in the air.
Yeah, and you land on the freaking ship
because you even touch that ship, you're toast. But like that one, the biggest key to it is do whatever you got to do to take out those 5 mini servitors beforehand, just to get into that. I think a lot of people basically try to withhold their heavy ammo or withhold their super. I'll normally take out the first 2 with I say heavy power, power weapon. Try to shotgun them down, grenade, what have you, melee the first 2, and then as soon as I see the next 3, that's where I normally pop my super and go from there. And then you're going to be relying on whatever's remaining to take down the final main servitor, but it's doable. But if you don't get those 5 quick, it's gone.
Yeah,
you miss that opportunity.
So I think some of this is I really do enjoy the public events. It does get a little old after a while, just farming event to event to event to event to event. It's fun throughout the week to go get your flashpoint, do your challenges. But once that's over, it's really like, well, this is all that's left really is the raid and public events. Because I don't really play Crucible that much, but
why is that, Quaz?
Because 4v4 is the team shot, man. It's nigh unplayable when you go in there by yourself. If you were not in there with a team and you're constantly getting matched up, like I was just this past weekend, constantly getting matched up against a team of 3 or a team of 4, and everyone on your team is not on a team. It is very hard because all these guys do is run in a pack of 3 and team shot you. You peek the corner and you're dead. You run away and 2 of them pop up behind you, you're dead. And it's frustrating unless you're a Void Warlock with Blink, and then you can outrun cheetahs. It's amazing. So it is frustrating. One of my favorite classes to play in Vanilla Destiny was the Blade Dancer. I loved Blade Dancer. I never really used Blink. I wasn't a Blink person. I just am not a Crucible guy. But dude, Blade Dancer was a great class for the longest time, and now they have Pole Dancer. And Pole Dancer is the worst class in the game. It's not close. If you're going to play a hunter, you might as well be a Golden Gun or Void Stalker, or Night Stalker, because it's just Pole Dancer sucks, man. It is a bad class.
I think a lot depends on what map you're on.
Oh, it's horrible.
If you get something that would be more close quarters, like let's say they had something similar to Anomaly from Destiny 1 or anything like that, I think it's pertinent, and I think the way you run the class is also pertinent. but most of these maps that we're playing on right now, they are open, they're long,
Yeah.
and that's the Arc Strider. I won't call it the pole dancer. I'll be nice. The Arc Strider it's not that. It's up. It's about getting around a corner and
really
catching you off course, or get three other opposing team guardians that are within 5 to 10 feet of one another. And you get out in those open areas, you're going to get mopped. That's all there is to
every
it.
time, man. I can't tell you how many times that I would pop my super as a Arc Strider, and you used to be able to jump up into the air and flash forward as a blade dancer.
Yeah.
And people, I don't know why, but it just seemed like people, it would catch them off guard. Like they expect you to charge forward to them, not above them. And so you could drop down, smack them, you got the kill. But this one, you try to jump and your team shot to death. Like it's instant.
Yeah.
You pop
team
your super.
Shot will take out any super.
Oh, for sure.
Any super.
Yep. It's not like an extra boost to armor or anything anymore. It feels like either you pop your super and you get people unaware, or unless you're a Titan, if you're a Fist of Havoc running around, you're pretty much going to get them if you have any kind of range on them. Like if they're within range of your Fist of Havoc, it's over.
Yeah. Fist of Havoc's probably, I would say, the best super to break up the team shot, but you have to get close enough.
Yeah.
But once it does, odds are there's going to be 2 or 3 guys grouped up.
Yeah.
Which, hey, 3 on 1 take, I'll do it all day long. Even though I haven't made my Titan, that's just my observation of the matter.
Yeah, and I like some of the other classes too. The Sentinel I think is really cool. I don't use it that much, but I like being able to switch between offensive and defensive. I think that's really neat. But one of the things that I really don't like about this game is the oversimplification of the subclasses themselves, where now I can't adjust my agility. I can't adjust my armor. I can't adjust this, and I can't adjust if I want 2 solar grenades, or if I want this or that, or it's kind of frustrating. I really dislike how they dumbed all of that down, and I really wish that this stuff had actually just been incorporated into vanilla Destiny, and they built off that as the base. I feel like in the long run, for the long game, it probably would have been a better game than just building this from the ground up and taking all the stuff that we know and actually enjoy and like about Destiny out, and trying to make this more of a casual social experience versus what they currently have in D1. So that's unfortunate. I don't love Crucible. I really don't. I did do trials last night. I went on eBay. I said, you know what? I will fork over $20 or whatever it is to go to the Lighthouse or the Third Spire now.
Get you that flavor, that taste.
And I got to be honest, man. The guys that I ran with, very, very cool. I would highly recommend them to anybody. I did not ask them if I could give them a shout out on this podcast, so I'm not going to do it. I may drop it by them at another point in time and see if they're okay with it. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. But great guys, very cool guys. Really enjoyed running with them. Had a lot of fun. Went flawless because they were ridiculous. And I got to say, going to the Third Spire was nuts. When you go to the Lighthouse, when you go to Mercury and you see the Lighthouse for the first time, it's pretty cool. The Third Spire, I've never seen anything like it. It is craziness. It is literally just the craziest thing I've ever seen in Destiny. I don't know how to describe it, especially when you get down to the final person that you talk to. It's just like,
what happened?
Oh, someone's on drugs. All right. Yeah, it's out there. It's a little out there, but it's interesting. So, if you're good enough, or you have people in your clan good enough to carry you to the Lighthouse or carry you to this Third Spire, check it out just one time. It's worth checking out, even if you have to pay for it. I'm not saying you should do that, but if you do, go for it and just check it out. It's it's a trip. That's all I'm going to say about it. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but
hold the spoiler. I ain't been there. I've only been to
yeah.
6 games so far, so
I think I got close.
Close, but close don't count. You know,
That's
that
true.
goes.
You know, it was pretty crazy. We played a 6th game, and we played somebody was streaming Nerf TV or something like that, and 2 of the guys on their on that team, one had a 2.5 KD and the other had a 3.4. This is how you know you're playing with the pros, is because they're on a computer looking up everybody's stats while they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys are shouting out like, "Oh man, that guy had this," and "Oh man, that guy." We beat them 6-1.
Yeah.
And we go into our 7th game, and the other team was a no-show, so we just got a free win.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, so do I get a discount? Like,
no, we said we were gonna get you the Spire. We got you the Spire.
Got you. You're welcome. Yeah, it was kind of cool though. So the end game, we talked a lot about strikes. We've talked a lot about PvE. We talked a little bit about Crucible. And by the way, the Crucible meta basically is Better Devils or the Origin Story. Uriel's Gift, the auto rifle in your energy slot, and either run a shotgun or a fusion. Or if you're good at sniping, you're a sniper. But rocket launchers are so bad.
Well, that raid rocket launcher rocks.
Is it good? I have it.
Oh, it rocks. Pick it up, use it.
Okay.
I've seen it in action. I don't have it myself, but oof, good Lord.
Yeah, I have it at level 10 right now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you gotta get in there on that for sure.
I think it's cool. Yeah. That's something I do like. Okay, I've talked a lot about things that I dislike, but some of the things that I do like, clan rewards. I think it's very cool. It really puts an emphasis on you joining a clan. Our clan is awesome. We consistently just blow through these rewards week after week after week. We get our 100,000 XP knocked out, every Tuesday, within the first like 5 to 6 hours.
5 to 6 hours.
Pretty insane.
Got our 100K.
Yeah, and it unlocks all these clan rewards for everybody, which people need to level up. And there's people that don't get to play as much as I do, and that's awesome for them. The fact that they can have that to help get them over that hump is fantastic. And I like that they give you rewards, like because I beat Trials yesterday, even though I was carried, I completed it, and everybody in our clan gets rewarded for that, even though it's not going to drop at a high light level. At least they're getting something, and they have a chance of getting a piece of actual Trials gear. Is that right? So that's really cool. And it's the same with the raid. So you're able to actually get a piece of raid gear, even though you didn't go do the raid. Even though it drops at a low level, you can just level it up, and you have a piece of the raid gear or Trials gear or what have you. And I think that's really neat. So I do like that. Kudos to Bungie for implementing that. Very, very cool. Now I do want to talk about the raid, and this may take a minute. By a minute, I mean literally a minute, because in my opinion, I think this is probably the worst raid that Bungie's ever made so far. I did not enjoy it. When we talk about being tedious, this game has really hit that nail on the head over and over and over. We talk about repetition, and I know Vanilla Destiny had a lot of repetition in it. This Destiny 2 has so much repetition. It is redonkulous. The raid, woo! It was kind of cool starting out. It felt like Serious Sam. They have this huge, gaudy pyramid, wide open spaces. It's massive. You run around, and it's just like, holy cow, what is going on? And there's these guards standing there, but they don't do anything if you leave them alone. It was kind of like, what? This is weird. Okay, I'm on board with this. And then we ran through, and there was some craziness trying to figure stuff out at that beginning part. Then we get to the bathhouse, and there's craziness trying to figure that out. And we passed that, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome, man. And then we get to the Pleasure Gardens, and the Pleasure Gardens is, if anybody of you listening have ever played Vaulted Glass and gone through the Gorgon maze, it's the Gorgons on crack. It is the most ridiculous thing, and it's very tedious. And I'm sure, you start doing it on a weekly basis, you get better at it because repetition. You are going to get better at it.
Yep.
But trying to teach this to somebody new is going to be it's going to be very difficult. Trying to get people through that may not be high skill players is going to be tough. The level of communication that you have to have, the level of teamwork that you have to have, and talking about guided games, having this mechanic driven raid as something that you're trying to prop up for guided games, I feel like it's definitely a misstep. There were some things that I was looking forward to that I really thought were going to be in the raid. Every raid, there's some kind of crazy jumping puzzle. There's not really a jumping puzzle in this one. There's some kind of weird gauntlet game show that involves jumping, but it's not like it used to be. And in the Leviathan itself is just this massive area that you're supposed to go wander around in, and it's just so big and at the same time so empty and pointless.
Yeah.
That I feel like this is just not
I don't think they've necessarily revealed everything yet either.
I hope not.
I think there's a lot more secrets to be withheld. At least, God, I hope so.
I have a feeling
just even with
have challenges, but I really think that this is it. Personally.
Well, we've gone through and we've seen what is there. The only way I could see them getting it better with a heroic or a challenge or anything else like that is if they incorporate other bosses in there. And God knows the place is big enough, they could probably double the amount of bosses within that aspect and push you off. But you have the ways where you can get into the underbelly and go find things. And mapping the place out didn't take as long as what I thought it would. There's a lot of people that already got it pretty well mapped out where the chests are, this and that. But yeah, it seems like they had this big ambition to get that raid together, and the format and the layout it's incredible. It's impressive. It's impressive, just the sheer size of it.
Yeah.
And everything else. Going into the pools, I thought that was a good mechanic.
Yeah, I did too.
Pleasure Gardens, I think it's a good mechanic, but I like the reference that you stated between the Gorgons on crack. After that, I've not done the gauntlet challenge phase. I have beat Callus at the end. So there's that midsection that I'm missing. So I can't really talk to that as this point in time.
I think that's one of the articles that I read on Forbes. I can't remember the guy's name that wrote it, so I apologize. He was talking about the raid, and he actually was explaining how to do the raid, but he was also talking about how just tiresome the raid is, even for a skilled team. And the problem, he said, is that you go into this area, and it's pretty cool. He was in the same boat that we were. He went in blind with a solid raid team, and we had a solid group. We go into the raid. We beat the beginning. We beat the bathhouse, and we're all invested. We're all interested. And then we get to the Pleasure Gardens. And the Pleasure Gardens, it's really challenging. For that first go, it is a challenge, and we finally figured out this is how we're supposed to beat it. This is how we're supposed to do it. We beat it on accident. We didn't beat it because we figured it out and we're good. We already knew how to do it, but because this person was spotted, or this happened, or whatever, for whatever reason, we constantly were running into a wall where it's like, we know what to do, we know how to do it, we just can't do it. And so we're playing this over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it gets frustrating. And then we go to the gauntlet, and we get in the gauntlet, and it's the exact same thing. We know how to beat it. We figure it out. This is how you do it. And we're stuck because for whatever reason, someone forgot to kill the Scion, so we all have to wipe immediately. And that's something that I've been noticing more. There was an observation that they had in the Forbes article saying that this this race has all these avenues for you to die, right? Like you're not just it wipes your entire team. So you miss this and you're done. You didn't kill this guy in time, you're done. And so you just reset. So you're just constantly doing it over and over and over. And then with the amount of revives that you have, because it's not like other raids where now you actually have a penalty to dying, it makes it so it's like, well, we had to wipe again because of this. And so you're just constantly doing this and you're beating your head against the wall and beating your head against the wall. And finally you overcome it and you're like, God, that was good Lord, that took forever. And then you get to Callus, the boss, and we did that for 3.5 hours where we knew what we were doing. We knew what to do, but for whatever reason, this happened, or this happened, or that happened, or the game glitched and the game kicked us, or this or that. By the way, that was supposed to be something that was fixed, where they're like, hey, we have this net code that's not good. We're not going to make dedicated servers a thing because we're just going to fix our net code. Why am I getting guitared all the time? Why can I not even log on sometimes? Because I'm getting Anteater or whatever other
Beavered.
stupid name that they want to put on their terrible netcode. Like, why is that a thing, and why does that continue to keep happening? That's frustrating to me. It's frustrating when you're playing a Nightfall and you're on the final boss and you get kicked. Very cool. Not really. So some of that I definitely am frustrated with. But getting back to the raid, just it is a tedious raid. In this raid in particular, compared to raids to the past, I did not mind Wrath of the Machine. I think Wrath of the Machine was actually my least favorite raid from Vanilla Destiny. But I still didn't mind going and playing it. This raid, Leviathan, I've done it one time, and I don't really care if I play it again, just because it's such a hassle. It's so tedious and to me boring that I don't care.
I know I'm going to get into it more, and it's any of the raids have been that way. It's all about getting that exposure.
But they're fun. That's the problem.
Learning the mechanics and then mastering those mechanics. And normally
Crota was fun. I mean, Crota was short and everybody complained about it, but at the same time, Crota was fun. I really enjoyed Crota. I really enjoy Vault of Glass. I actually, even though Oryx is an incredibly mechanic heavy, I think out of all of them, Leviathan and Oryx are the two most mechanically driven raids that they've come up with, but still Oryx was interesting. You have the totems there, that was a tough part. I think totems was actually one of the hardest parts of Oryx outside of Oryx. But War Priest was, I enjoyed War Priest and I enjoyed Golgoroth and Sisters, and it's just,
well, they did a good job of stair-stepping those bosses. There wasn't a long drawn-out area in between, where on the Leviathan you have those long drawn-out areas in between. And
it's just a massive ship, and then you can accidentally replay crap that you've already done.
Yeah.
What is that about?
With it, one of the things they were always saying is they wanted you to explore. And they are very much forcing you to explore here on the raid, because you're not exactly sure where you want to go at. And they give you keys at the end of every single encounter
that disappear.
If you open up the main atrium, there's a chest there that pops a key, and you have this, and it's like, okay, do we find this? Do we go here? Do we go there? It doesn't necessarily have a set flow path or pattern to it. It's very much open world, where all the other raids
are linear.
You knew where you had to go, and this was the only way to go. Now it's more, you can go here, up, down, left,
that's
right.
That's what I liked about Vault, because they had the safe room, and there was a door that opened up in safe room, or you could go through the massive opening where the Templar is. And that was really cool that you have two avenues, but one of those avenues actually takes you down to a hidden chest. And if you did the Templar challenge, it took you down to a separate hidden chest that you had to go find.
Yeah.
Even though it's a linear experience, you're still getting this unique experience where you still have to look around and try to figure out where this stuff is. and things like that. It's like you killed it with Vault of Glass. I mean, that is like the pinnacle raid. That is amazing. And even though Dark Below, Crota was not the end all be all to any raid, it was still interesting, and you had to go explore in the darkness with that darkness times 10 on you. You know, you're walking around all heavy, trying to fight off the thrall and the curse thrall and stuff, and that was interesting. That was cool.
Yeah.
And that one, that one didn't really have a jumping puzzle in it, but
no, but we it's like you said, we played it because we enjoyed it. I think I had over 200 and some Crota clears.
Total. I love Crota. And I really did. I love what they did with it when they revised it too.
Oh yeah, that was really fun. Cool. That was really fun.
Yeah. So I'm complaining a lot about Destiny 2. There's a lot of things that I dislike about it, but I would like to say that I think it's because I really genuinely love Destiny as a game, and it's that love of the game that makes me feel this passionately about it. And I'm not saying that Destiny 2 isn't going to become that game. It has, like, there's potential for it there, even though there's things I dislike about it right now. I mean, just look at where Destiny was when it launched. I hated it. And
we'll just say this: Destiny 2's got a much better hole shot than what Destiny 1 had.
Sure. And by the time within the next 3 years, by the time they're ready to make the next one or add on, significantly to this one, who's to say that it can't be drastically improved? I think it will. I definitely think it will. So I'm along for the ride. But at the moment, I don't think that this game is gonna hold my attention quite like Vanilla did when it came back and really got into it.
No, and for me to say this is going to be a shocker to some. While I'm kind of the same way. While I feel Destiny 2 has got a better hole shot out than what Destiny 1 has, Destiny 1 had me hooked 10 to 20 times more than what Destiny 2 has. And here's the reason why. And I feel the same as you. I don't see this game having the legs. Okay. Previous episodes, we talked about the casuality of the game and how they were talking about, oh, we're doing this to make it more accessible, to do this, do that. I was worried about a bumper sticker. That bumper sticker turned into a tattoo, which now is a full-blown branding on the forehead of the word casual. For me, that hurts. That hurts big time. The lack of grimoire, we kind of talked about it. That was something I chased adamantly in Destiny 1. And to me, like you said, it was a brag or kind of a gauging factor that you could look at your other fellow Guardians and see what kind of exposure they had or what their time or their worth was in game. How much
to the game.
How much experience do you have in game? You don't see that right now. You could have someone like you that's put in 150 hours and have the Nameless Midnight or another guy that literally has 2 hours and has it in there. So you don't have that equalization. Armor sets, okay. Tier 12 to me was something that I chased dramatically. Granted, I understand that it sat back and it made some Guardians stronger than other Guardians, so that offset the PvP aspect. But what it did, it gave you something to chase after. And it said, dang, this dude's, handing me my tail section every single time. You looked at him. What loadout does he have? What's on his weapon? Oh, yeah, he killed me with this weapon, but you know what? There may be 20 to 30 different varieties of that weapon. That is what kept you going forward in Destiny 1. At least that's what it did for me. I had something to chase after. I wanted that perfect roll chest or that perfect roll weapon or, so on and so forth. That's what I went after. I went after the grimoire. Destiny 2, you're one gun and literally done. You can slap a shader on it that doesn't stay there forever, which I'm still not understanding that one, but that's besides the point. While there is more customization with it, I don't really get the point. What do you want? People grinding for shaders? Come on, man. Be realistic. That's about the only thing you actually grind for. To categorize yourself differently. While there's more of it, it all costs. To get one shader like you had before, you got to basically apply it to 5 different armor items. Then you got the guns aspect, which is, kind of cool. But what do you got to do to get there is the question. So yeah. The thing about it is, once you get this one and done, whether it's an armor piece or a weapon, what else do you have to go after?
That's where I'm at right now.
There's literally nothing. Okay. Yeah. Before you had that other stuff to chase after. Now, when you have games that are going to be coming out, Shadow of Mordor 2, Assassin's Creed 2, we talked earlier this evening that Far Cry 5 got pushed out. That might help them. Or, even the new Call of Duty.
Yeah.
They don't have the underbelly structure. And unfortunately, for a hardcore Destiny 1 player like me, it's got a pretty shell and it looks good. But if it doesn't have anything at its core, or it doesn't have anything to drive or push me to that aspect, granted, I've had a lot of stuff going on, so I haven't been able to play as much as I would like to, or as much as I did with Destiny 1. At the same time, I'm saying, well, what's the rush? Because there's not a whole lot there.
Yeah, at the moment, there's really not. And I know that they have that plan laid out, that roadmap that they had, where they're talking about next week. I think we get factions.
Yeah, factions come back
more next week, but that's a limited time event where it's only like 1 to 2 weeks or 1 week.
But even with the faction war, the way I understand it is, you pick a faction, and then based on the activities that you do to that faction and what faction items you gather from the various planets, however that's going to boil out, that faction is going to win. So you're basically still doing the same activities that you're doing, but there's just a little more incentive because you want your faction to come into first place.
Right.
That way you can only spend 1,000 glimmer
on some crazy weapon
on the weapon, or 50,000 glimmer if you're on a separate faction.
Yeah, which means I got to grind to get my glimmer back up, which is impossible.
Yeah, but if you have a ghost or anything else like that'll help contribute to that aspect, that's what you want to utilize. But I mean, they've ripped out a lot of the heart and soul, to me. Like I said, this is my opinion of what Destiny 1 was. Not having those armor sets to go after, not going after those god weapons, not going after the grimoire. It's like I said, it's a once and done. It's a casual gaming experience branded heavily.
Yeah.
And they want more people to come into it, but there's other things that are going on, to me, that's just driving walls between Guardians. The Crucible, the 4v4. I understand it on some aspects, but I hate the fact of the matter that I can only literally have 4 people on my team, and I got a party of 20 people. Great, and you can't take 20 people into D1, but you could at least get 6 there, and experience that.
Yeah. I feel like not having the 6v6 really hurts. Not being able to choose your game mode is stupid. It doesn't just hurt. In my opinion, I think it's just dumb.
Hurts.
Have that, hey, we're going to add this later at a later time in DLC.
No private matches for any people that would want to.
You can't go explore maps. You can't learn maps unless you're just constantly playing quick play or whatever. And the changes that they've made with competitive play, those matches take forever. They literally take forever. And it was cool at first, where in trials you have the emotes at the very beginning. We're like, oh, hey, we're going to show the 2 lineups, this team versus this team, and this is their emote, and this is their emote, and this is their emote, and this is their emote. This is awesome. And after a while, it's like, oh my god, just
why don't we have a skip button on that?
Yeah, get us in the game, please. This is taking forever. So yeah, I'm not a big fan. And also with the trials tickets, something that I did not know, found out last night, is that you only have to have 7 wins, right? You need 7 wins to go to the third spire. But once you have 7 wins on that character, instead of going and getting a new ticket, it just stays that way. So if you're trying to help somebody else get to the third spire, they have to tell you where they're at, because yours just says at 7. which is cool that you don't have to go talk to Osiris anymore and to get your ticket, so you don't have to fly to the reef, get a ticket, and fly back. At the same time, it's like this wasn't very well thought out, was it?
No. And then, as much as it seemed like they were driving this game towards the PvP element of the aspect, exactly what you said about the team shot. They need to have like a lone wolf category where if you're a solo or you're a double, you're made up with somebody else, you're matched up with players that are solo or double, et cetera, et cetera. Because you get 4 guys that aren't communicating or aren't on the same team, and they go against a team of 3 or 4.
Yeah, you get mopped.
It's pointless.
It's painful.
It's pointless and it's painful. Why would you want to stick around for that? I don't encourage quitting, but it's
that's something else that happens. You'll be in the middle of a match and you're getting mopped by a team of 3 or a team of 4, and half your team just bails.
Yep.
So it's like, well, I mean, I have to stay in here because I need to get my call to arms leveled up. But wow, it's all based on kills and whether we win or not is wow. So okay, so that's cool. I'm just gonna get smoked for the next 5 minutes. Yeah, and that's not fun. That's really what this boils down to. A lot of this is tedious. That's really what the word I would use to describe Destiny 2 at the moment is it's tedious. It's missing a lot of the fun. They talked about finding the fun. I'm having trouble finding the fun at the moment. I think there's some things that are cool. I did like in the campaign that they gave you an exotic at level 6, and then they give you an exotic at level 12, and then at 16 you actually go to your vault. I didn't know this, by the way, but I found out on my my 3rd character that you can stick a sparrow. By the way, the walking simulator that is your first character for the campaign, easily one of the worst, most tedious things that I've ever experienced in any game ever. Walking around and looking at the landscape is great for the first 15 minutes, and then it goes away because there's nothing to do. Every now and then there's an enemy to shoot, but for the most part you're like, well, I'm just going to try to walk over to that thing that's all the way at the other end of the world. That's awesome. And it's not awesome. Whoever decided to not give you a sparrow at the beginning of the game, I don't want anybody to lose their jobs. You should reassess their ability to make decisions.
You're regaining your light pack, so you can't necessarily have a sparrow, but that doesn't mean you can't fight like a rusted out BMX bicycle or something.
Because that happens pretty early on. Once you regain your light, you should be given a sparrow, just like in D1. That was a bad decision. And granted, it's nice that you can actually stick a sparrow once you hit level 20. You can slap a sparrow in the vault for your next character when they make it to the farm. But man,
brutal.
What a nightmare!
Brutal.
It was awful.
So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, I think they've got an impressive start, but I think they've got a ton of room for improvement. And the thing is, I think if they don't get it there relatively soon, and I'm talking by year end, a lot of the bottom's going to fall out of this is what I'm afraid of.
I agree with that. I think this next DLC that drops in December is really going to need to be something. It needs to be impressive, and it needs more than just a PvP shell. Like, it needs to do more than service PvP, because this game at the moment is servicing PvP, and I think it's to its detriment. That's just my personal opinion.
I mean, if you look at even the user base in week 1 when it came out, other games fell down, but it's only taken a couple weeks here, and now Overwatch, you're seeing a lot of people go back into that. I mean, I went back into regular Destiny and played. God, are you fast in regular Destiny compared to Destiny 2?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Whew. And I played a few rounds there, and I had a good time. But there's still a lot of people playing Destiny 1 too. So
I've actually thought about firing it up myself.
It's not. To me, they haven't overcome. They haven't delivered a product that has been like, awe-inspiring. It's gotten good ratings, and I think it's gotten good ratings because a lot of people are looking at Destiny 2 compared to Destiny 1 and where it was within the first 30 days. And I'll admit it is much, much better. The content, the storyline, the gameplay, all that stuff. But there's, like I said, in the process, that what they pulled out of the game, it's like, yeah, there it is. Okay, super. Now what?
Yeah,
it's not going to quench the thirst of a lot of Destiny players that are out there and what we have been accustomed to.
Right. I'm going to tell you two things that I really, really like, because I want to end on a positive note here. I know I've been talking a lot of smack about Destiny 2, and I haven't been super hip on it. I'm going to end with two things that I think are really positives for Destiny 2, and they're very, very important to me. So the first one is actually the Nightfall rewards. I don't get a ghost shell anymore, and that's awesome. I think that's one of the greatest things ever. Thank you, Destiny. Thank you, Bungie, for implementing that and not having ghost shells contribute to your light level. I just want to personally step out and thank you for making that decision, because that was a brilliant move on your part. Not getting a ghost shell as a reward for a Nightfall, easily one of my favorite things of all time. Second thing, when I beat the raid or when I beat something difficult in Destiny 2, my reward is in-game. I don't get a discounted t-shirt. That's awesome. I really appreciate that too. I just want to throw that out there. Whoever made that decision, they probably should lose their job. But the rest of you, thank you for contributing. Keep up the good work. So those are the two things that I have off the top of my head.
Oh, just wait till the end of season 1. It ain't gonna be a t-shirt this time. It'll be a bandana.
Clan rewards. You get a pin, and you get a pin, and not like the kind that you get when you get an emblem. It's actually going to be like an ink pin that you have to dip in Destiny ink, but you have to buy it straight from Bungie's website because it's not refillable. Oh, anyway. Oh boy!
You said you were going to end this on a positive.
Yeah, I was trying really, really hard.
Oh man! Yeah, like you said, we're still going to be here. I'm still going to play it, but
Hey, but in October, man, we'll be back in Destiny 1.
I will be back in Destiny 1. I'm telling you right now.
All right.
And I don't know what'll happen with that, but
I don't know if I'm coming back.
Well, that's the thing. It's going to be a solid compro going back and forth. There's no Iron Banner, there's no trials or anything else. But I'll tell you right now, some of the best times I've had, the community, my clan mates, friends of friends that have come into the Destiny Expanse clan. Destiny 1 is what put us there. And those good times still exist on that. And I think getting back into that just for old times sake, I still think could be an absolute blast.
Yeah, I kind of want to go
whether we're getting something to reward us and going out, just to relive those days and have fun and laugh at each other. To me, there ain't nothing better than that.
Yeah, true story. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Overall, Destiny 2, we like it mostly, but there's definitely, again, like you said, room for improvement for sure. If you like the podcast and you want to hear more about it, you can check us out on iTunes at Destiny Expanse, the Destiny Expanse podcast. If you have any questions you would like to submit to us, our email address is destinyexpanse@gmail.com. Again, that's destinyexpanse, all one word, @gmail.com. Charger, it's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah, we were long-winded, but that's what happens when you have opinions and free talk. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you to our clanmates who have made these first few weeks of Destiny 2 quite memorable, raking in those Ingrams, raking up those points. I'm figuring sometime Tuesday around 4 o'clock, we should be hitting rank 3 and getting more rewards out of taking down the Cabal, staff that is out there.
The old Cabals.
Next time we'll bring a little bit more in depth on the raid, a little more in depth, hopefully on a different variation of Nightfall, and we'll see if Quasi has any more 20s laying around to get us to the third spire.
Get you those third spire cherries. What? Yeah, I'm gonna make it rain, man. Where's my silver?
Yeah, make it happen.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
Other than that, thanks for listening, everybody.
Absolutely.
Take it away.
All right, man. Well, thanks again to everyone. You guys have a good one. We are out.